Thank you. So we have an addition of a RFD under the Division 3 Council Report. That'll be a RFD for dust control, request for dust abatement, East 30, 22, 24.
Okay.
And also, excuse me, under 6.2, another closed session legal matter regarding the Speargrass water license.
Okay. Anything else, Mike?
I believe Councillor Clausen has an addition for.
Just with my report, Township Road 244 speed increase, had a request for that, and a letter of support for WID. They're looking, I can explain it further during my report.
Okay, in your report, WD, okay. Anything, any other additions? Motion to accept amended agenda. Don has moved. All in favor? Carried. An adoption of the minutes, May 7th, 2019, regular council meeting minutes. Ben has moved. Is there any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. May 7th, 2019, public hearing minutes for bylaws 2019-04, 2019-05, 2018-41, 2018-42, 2018-43, and 2018-44. Okay, I have just one for 2019-04. Under the comments there, I believe on page 19, Ben had asked for more information. I'd like to have my name included there too. I asked for more information too. Is there any other comments or concerns? Jason moved. All in favor? Carried. As amended, yeah. And May 21st, 2019, regular council meeting minutes. Tom has moved. Is there any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. I seen a shadow there. I'm thinking you voted, Jason. And May 21st, 2019, public hearing minutes for bylaws 2017-40, 2019-3, and 2019-11. Scott has moved. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. And with that, we'll move into public hearings.
Sorry, my apologies. Just before we get into the public hearing, if I could ask Matt just to introduce our new economic development officer.
Good morning, Council. I know that most of you have met Patrick Earl, our new Economic Development Officer, but I just wanted to formally introduce Patrick to Council. Council to Patrick. Patrick will be instrumental in developing our Community and Development Services Strategic Plan, which I hope to actually present to you within the next month, one of the next two council meetings coming up within the month, outlining a 3-year roadmap for planning, development, economic development, and community services, which will be really instrumental for our department and our county moving forward. So without further ado, Patrick, if you just want to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Great. Good morning, Council. I'm happy to be here. I have quite a bit of experience coming into the role in different communities and now provinces. So recently, my last placement was in Hope, BC, and I ran the agency there for economic development and tourism, the DMO, visitor center, museum, a bit of everything in a busy little community there. So I have a lot of experience in rural Alberta, up in the capital region, and just recently north of here in Nihil. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get into some great sector development here in the county and do some great things. So thanks for the welcome.
Thank you for coming. Good luck. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, I move that we recess council to open public hearings. Is there any questions? All in favor? Carried. And with that, I'll open the public hearing for bylaw 2017-44. Has all the proper notifications been done?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has.
Does any member of the public have any concerns of any councillor listening to the public hearing? Not seeing any. Please continue.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing for bylaw 2017-44. The purpose is to redesignate 313 combined acres from agricultural general to direct control and 5 acres of industrial general to the same direct control district for the purposes of the Ridgeland Hatarian Colony. Just a little bit of background. The purpose, as previously mentioned, is to incorporate 3 different parcels and titles which is currently being used by the Ridgeland Colony. It is to put it into a direct control district, which we have done for a number of the other colonies in our county. In this case, very similar uses and functions are going to be occurring here as they were in previous ones, with the exception that there is some light industrial and a recycling facility, which was previously permitted and applied for prior to this application. So they are existing uses and functions and are being incorporated to ensure that they are maintained for use through the colony as they are currently still being used. Otherwise, the cemetery is separated out with its own title and designation, so it is not part of the total application. It is required through the Cemetery Act to be separated out. Other than that, staff is recommending that the public hearing for bylaw 2017-44 proceed, and that if the public hearing proceeds, that staff will go through the RFD for second and third reading if council approves. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there any communications?
I received no external or adjacent landowner comments or concerns through the process.
Thanks. Does council have any questions or concerns? Does anybody care to speak for or against the public during the public hearing? No? Yeah? No? Okay. One last chance. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Oh, sorry, Ben.
Use a hammer.
Just a note to thank them for coming in and thank them for
Okay. And with that, I'll close the public hearing for bylaw 2017-44. And we're back in council. Yes. Ben has moved second reading. Is there any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Third reading. Donna?
I'll move that bylaw 2017-44 be given third and final reading.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming in. Bylaw, first reading, request for decision, bylaw 2019-13. Good morning.
Good morning. So this application is to redesignate plus or minus 9.85 acres of Plan 9110892, Lot 1, from Agricultural General District to Rural Business. I will just scoot down to the maps for you guys. So it is just south of Cheadle there, off of Township 234, and then there is the aerial imagery. Okay, so the purpose of this application is to redesignate a portion of the parcel from agricultural general to rural business in order to facilitate the expansion of an existing landscaping business. If the council grants this redesignation, the applicant will submit a development permit application for the business. The landscaping business has been operating under a secondary use business development permit since 2014, and they received a renewal in 2017. The secondary use business use was removed as a use in the new land use bylaw. When the applicant came to reapply for their SUB permit, they were informed that they would need to redesignate in order to accommodate their business. Some of the initial concerns from the original DP application from adjacent landowners included water usage, traffic, unsightly premises, weeds, poor drainage, and fire hazards. After an inquiry into enforcement on the premises since the initial development permit application, there have only been a couple of complaints regarding garbage that was blown around onto adjacent properties, but that's been it so far. As per their letter of intent, traffic to this site is almost exclusively the company 3-ton truck in order to drop off or pick up materials for their jobs in Calgary. The applicants explain they'll occasionally have materials delivered to their business, but normally the materials are delivered directly to the job site. They would like to expand their current greenhouse to 5 times its current size, from 30 by 40 to 30 by 200. They would also like to add another greenhouse that's 20 by 130. In the smaller greenhouse, they would like to use hydroponics to grow the vegetables year-round, and that will be used by them and to sell at farmers markets. They intend to service these 2 greenhouses with gas in order to heat them year-round. I phoned them just to kind of clarify, and the applicant explained that these expansions are for future development plans, and for now, they're just going to continue operating as they are. So if the redesignation is given approval, they'll have to apply for a new development permit, and that will entail circulation again. And so staff is recommending that bylaw 2019-13 be given first reading, and that a public hearing for the bylaw be scheduled for July 16th, 2019. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
Through the chair, just one question to staff. Has there been any comments since the operation of this as a secondary use business come in as, and any issues with the business operating?
The only complaints that I was able to find were about kind of garbage flying off of their property onto the others. I think there was maybe 2 complaints, but other than that, there haven't been any. There will be circulation done again for the public hearing, and so if there are more concerns that have been brought up since that time, they'll be included.
Any other questions?
Not a question, it's just a comment. The Alberta Health Services is there to deliver health services and not give us a 4-page report on what they think. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is the reason why we spend $21 billion a year on health care. Most of it ain't health care.
Quebec really pissed you off, eh?
I've got some news to that. I was actually speaking to Norm the other day. They are changing how they give comments, so they're not the 4-pager now. So you should be seeing more succinct comments coming from AHS from here on forth. You're welcome.
Any other comments? Council's wishes.
I'll make a motion that bylaw 2019-13 be given first reading.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried.
And I'll move that public hearing for bylaw 2019-13 be scheduled for July 16th at 9 a.m. in the Wheatland County Council Chambers.
Any questions?
Where was that at?
Wheatland County Council Chambers, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
No, you said that. I was just being an
Okay.
ass.
Anybody got any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Other planning and development matters, A, Westgate Lands and correspondence.
So through you, Deputy Reeve, I do believe at the last council meeting, this letter was put forward as information for council, and I would just allow you, if you would, if you have any questions, I do have an opinion on the matter. Otherwise, it's just for information, as I understand it.
Yeah. Can I hear your opinion?
So, through the Deputy Reeve to council, just a little bit of history with regards to this file. And, you know, the crux of the letter is to ask for an extension. So there was a second time extension request approved by council on November 6th for an additional 6 months, expiring May 18th, 2019. No communication to date has been provided to staff by the developers, with the exception of this letter to the Reeve, to continue working on the outstanding subdivision conditions. On March 12th, Planner 1 sent an email to the developers and notified them of the time extension deadline and the possible dates for council that a third time extension request could be proposed on April 16th and May the 7th. The letter sent to the Reeve and County Council, which is before you today, received May 8th, 2019, proposed a long-term time extension for the subdivision by the developers. At this point in time, the deadline to provide a time extension request of that nature has come and gone. The next council meeting, so May the 21st, obviously, which would render the subdivision endorsement null and void as per section 657, subsection 4 of the Municipal Government Act. So without a formal subdivision of time extension prior to May 18th, subdivision endorsement deadline, and with next council meeting scheduled after that deadline, which has come and gone, Wheatland County would not be able to grant a time extension.
Yeah.
I
Any other questions?
have a question on, they said they invested $6 million some odd dollars. Is there anything changed on the land? Was there anything put in there or anything?
Sorry, Councillor, could you just repeat that? I didn't.
So there was $6 million invested, and was there anything changed on the land? Like, did they put trees in? Did they do anything to the land?
There's been no surface improvements.
No service.
I believe they might have done something for, I think I heard for gas line, paid some money to upside the gas line at one point for future. Rosebud, I don't know if that's confirmed or not. There's a note to this too. Some of the landowners that are in this area, one of them in particular, is looking at selling his land. I've talked to Matt about it too. He wants to, it'd be like if this project started tomorrow, it would be 10 or 15 years before they got there anyways. So he wants to sell his land now. So he's going to be in discussions with Matt about possible future uses.
Well, through the chair, my question to staff, I guess, or to the councillor of the area, if they've spent that kind of money, what did they spend it on? Where's the evidence of that? Like,
I can only guess.
Well, not exactly sure. So, Matt, do you have a legal opinion about that? Like if it gets challenged with the MGA and the deadline transpiring and all that? Just from previous history, I think we should have that.
I could certainly grab one, if that's the will of council, if you'd like administration to go in that direction, just to back it up.
Just from history, it might have to be a defendable position. That's
always apply again if they want.
through the chair, I have some concerns. If we go to legal, and legal always has to protect us to the nth degree, that's their job, right? And they come up with some cautions and we don't follow them, we're liable. If we don't go to legal and ask them, we're going by our own land use bylaws and MP, all our, and as you said, under our guidelines, we can't really give them an extension. So I would rather move ahead without going through a legal channel. They want to fight it, let them fight it. If they're going to fight it, they're going to fight it anyways. But if we go to our legal and they give us an opinion, and it's a cautionary opinion, we'll do this, and then we end up spending more money trying to, I think we've bent over backwards. We've done everything under the sun for these folks over the last, how many ever years they've been coming to us, and they have done absolutely nothing towards this. So my suggestion would be that we don't go to legal.
Any other comments?
I'm just trying to remember back the last meeting, like when we talked about this whenever that last month. And this is just, this will be treated, because we're looking at all the ASPs, all the ASPs that are not in, that have gone the way of the whatever, I don't know the word, sorry. Yeah, the non-current ASP. So, yeah, I think, this is more or less sort of a deal for information, and let's clean up our ASPs and let's treat everybody the same, and I don't think we'll have any problems.
Yeah, through the Deputy Reeve here, yeah, we are looking at our ASPs through that long-term process, which I'll present to you, obviously, in our departmental strategic plan over the next 3 years. So we're going to have a breakdown and an action plan on either repeal or replace, repeal, or, if we need a new one, we need a new one. But more than likely, what we're doing is we're going to be decreasing the amount of ASPs in the county because they are very outdated.
You said decrease.
Yeah. Decrease.
I believe, though, this is two different things. This is a subdivision extension, and the ASP is a totally different, it's a, no, the ASP doesn't have a timeline on it.
No,
But the subdivision does.
the subdivision act.
And this is the conditions that were set out by the municipal government board that they challenged, and those conditions were set, so that's what this is dealing with in particular. That's why it's so formal, right? Because if they didn't do the application in, it's not even really us they didn't meet those conditions. That's.
If they would have met the conditions within the time frame of the MGB, there was no discussion, they would be granted. Subdivision was granted by the MGB, but they have to meet conditions. If conditions aren't met, they have to come back to council to get a time extension. And they were granted a time extension twice, I think. They were granted a year plus 6 months, if I remember right. And I don't know if that's a council thing or if that's part of the MGA. You can get a time extension. Truly at the discretion of council. The reason why there's a limit, you shouldn't keep granting time extensions, because the environment changes and the conditions, you might want to apply different conditions and may keep them current. And to Tom's question about an ASP floating around out there without a subdivision is almost irrelevant. It's relevant, but it's there, and it should be updated too. So at the very least, it should be updated and maybe even just taken off and start over again if 10 years things change. I mean, things change, and do it over again, and that way everything keeps current. So I'm thinking for this letter, we accepted conversation and letters last meeting as information. I think this is just another letter that the Reeve got, and if we could get a motion to accept it as information and move on.
Just for clarity, we're not saying no by any means. They can start the process over again if they think it's that big of a importance. So.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe for clarity, the subdivision that was presented through the MGB has expired.
Yes.
There was no request from them, which would be the developer, to extend that. So that means that it's null and void because we can't just grant it without an
That's
ask.
right.
So if they want to do a re-subdivide and do that, they could start from scratch again, basically. But the area structure plan remains in place for the area.
The area structure plan is
Am I correct in that,
still
my
there.
son?
Yeah.
Yeah, area structure plan runs in perpetuity, subdivision, no.
So with that being said, I'll move as information.
Okay, Jason's moved his information. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next is a presentation. We'll move down to Reeves' report.
I'll also move Amber's report, Reed Link's report.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Catch up here. Deputy Reeves' report. Just like to add this. There's a regional, I'm just going to read it. Regional Seniors Housing Needs Assessment. Come and attend our open house to hear about seniors' housing needs and future plans. Wheatland Housing Management Body is contracted Gordon and Associates to do a needs assessment. He's been busy around the county talking to FCSS and some of the seniors groups. And I don't know if he's made it out to the villages yet or not. Anyway, there is an open house Wednesday, June the 5th at 7 o'clock at the Strathmore Library. So that's tomorrow night. And you're more than welcome. I'm inviting everyone here to attend and see what the conversation is. It's the community's chance to put in their opinions, I guess. There'll be no talk, I don't think, of where it's going to go. It's just a talk about the needs and just what the public wants. So that's part of my
Tom, are we
report.
allowed in the library? Are we allowed?
Okay.
Question, just to follow up on that, on the Wheatland Housing meeting. There was going to be a meeting with the, up in Edmonton or wherever with the, have you heard anything about that?
Okay, session is in right now, so their MLAs are busy. I got a hold of, I texted. It's easier that way with Nathan Cooper. And he's going to maybe try and phone later today. He can't come tomorrow. I don't think Leela can because Denise was going to look after, and I don't think Martin Shields can come either. You were looking after that, right? I think he sent a message that one of his staff would maybe be at the open house tomorrow night. When I talked to Nathan, he thought it would be easier since all the MLAs are up there for him to try and arrange a meeting. So I'll just, we'll see how that conversation goes when he phones.
Going to be on a meeting that was going to be arranged by Doug Legore, was there not?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's what I got out of the meeting.
Yeah, but we haven't asked
was a
them yet.
motion in the- that
We
was a
haven't
motion.
asked them to get that. We were waiting for this report to get done. So this original report needs assessment was to be done on July 31st. And Gordon got it bumped up and he thinks he can have it done by June 30th. Just because for timeliness. And then June 30th is when the Wheatland Housing Management Body has to have their strategic plan in place and their budget and their vision of the future by June 30th too. So that's why we got the Community Futures doing that strategic plan for us. We're doing this need assessment and getting that all done as a package. Then we'll be able to go and see the minister with that. And then further to that, I received a phone call from Robert Craig. And he was one of the chaps when we went up to Edmonton, a group of us with Doug Legore as the meeting he arranged to talk to the ADM, the Assistant Deputy Minister. He was the secretary. I tried phoning him, but then the election come and then he couldn't phone me anymore because it was election time. He phoned me and filled me in on a few of the details. We haven't got any money for the study. I don't know if the new minister will grant it to us or not, so we'll definitely put that ask, and we'll ask again since we were denied. But that's currently all I know. If, I'll wait and see till Nathan gets a hold of me today. Nathan's my MLA, and Leela is Strathmore's MLA, so Denise was going to look after. And I haven't talked to Denise, no. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead. Does council want to attend or have a motion to attend to the open house? I believe through the three of us on the board can go, but if the rest of the council wants, I think it would be appropriate. Tom has moved. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. That's at the library at 7 o'clock. And I'll move my report. Is there any questions? All in favor? Carried. Division 1 Councillor report.
The only thing I would add is May 25th, I think it was, the hospice is steering towards hospice banquet. Carsland, 123,000, I want to say.
I'm not sure, like, on the raised board, but I don't know what the exact, I still haven't, they haven't sorted out the numbers exact, but it's in that area.
It's in that area.
123,
Last I
140, somewhere in there, so, yeah.
So it was very well attended. I didn't go as a counselor, but it is a big part of council, and I think it will be in the future. I visited with a number of people, and like we talked at the Wheatland Housing Board, and Denise mentioned it as well, there is a lot of ratepayers wondering when we're going to start putting a requisition in, and they're actually looking forward to that aspect of it. So I think we got to keep that in the back of our minds as councillors. So, but other than that, I have no other comments. I will move my report.
Okay, any questions? Since Jason raised that requisition for the hospice, we're going to, I thought we would do it after this needs assessment was done, so I'm thinking first thing in the fall would be a good time for the board to come together with a hospice society, and would be done in time for the next budget. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know if it'll be a requisition or if it'll be a request for funds. If it's a requisition, then you have no choice but to pay it, but we'd have to get ministerial approval for that. So we'll see how that plays out in the fall. Our plate's pretty full right now at the lodge. Any other questions for Jason? Moved it, didn't you? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
I'll vote for my report.
Division 3 Councillor report.
Yes. I met with, I guess I wasn't there as I was there as a counselor, but not, it's just for my division was, Carsland area has, it's suffering really, really bad from no childcare. So we met with the school, and they are having before and after school. I think we saw that request go through. And a group of us are getting together with the church to see if we can get that going for childcare, because that at the school the childcare would be 3 and up. They need something now 3 and lower. It's actually affecting people can't work. People are having to sell. It's actually affecting our area. So we're doing that kind of on the side. Went to Speargrass AGM. Everybody was thank you county, thank you county, thank you county. So I'll pass that on for all that they're doing for us, or we're doing for them there. And we went to Origins on the 28th of May for a tourism evening with Strathmore through the chambers.
Was that the 27th? Or the
28th, I think. And yeah, it was good, fairly good turnout. It was kind of a workshop. Not a lot of, it was mostly Strathmore, but I want to talk to Matt and maybe Mackenzie or something where I want to try to plan something for tourism through the county. I just went to one in Vulcan through Travel Alberta, and we'll see if Travel Alberta will maybe sign something up for us here. You know, it's all free, and we can maybe use the ECC room. But I'll let you know. And I'll move my report as read.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Dust control?
Oh, dust control, sorry. Oh, sorry. So I received a phone call actually last year, and I've talked to him a couple times. There's a Mennonite cemetery, the land location's here somewhere. It's just south of Nemeka area. And he volunteers his time to take care of the cemetery. He just said that the dust actually gets, the dust just gets on the grass, gets on the stones. It's harder to look after for him. So he asked if the county would possibly consider putting dust abatement down. So I said I'd bring it to council, and yeah, I just want to see if we could, I think the cost was $600 for us. It would cost $600. I would just make a motion if we would, if council would consider doing the dust abatement at the location for the Mennonite Cemetery.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Mike, are we still able to do that this year?
So through the chair, we've already completed our first application in dust control, but we do have another one coming up with a deadline of middle of June. So we will have another application we can meet this request on. And sorry, just a little follow-up on there. We did attempt to do some traffic counts on this road, but we haven't got the results back on that yet. So normally our threshold is 100, like I talked about there, but this is potentially a different circumstance.
I'd like to see the vehicle count before I make a decision.
So will the vehicle count be done before you do your second application, dust control?
Through the chair, the count is being done right now. It'll be ready end of this week. So yeah, it will be in time for the next application. Potentially not for, yeah, we should be able to make it. The next council meeting I'm saying is in July 2nd. So if the motion is to delay until July, we might be coming a little bit close to the second application timeline.
So if council decides to wait till July 2nd, there would still be time to put the dust control if it was a positive vote, or would it be wait till next year type of thing?
Like I say, through the chair, it would potentially be until next year, depending on when we did our application on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think the traffic count is actually going to be enough. Honestly, I don't. I think it's 100, right, you said? Or what? Yeah. And I don't think that's going to come up. But I do think that we have someone who's trying to look after the cemetery, and it's not ours, and we don't have to look after it. I'd like to, for the investment and for the community support of all the people that, I'm sure everybody that's in that cemetery were probably taxpayers at one time. So I'm thinking that maybe we should maybe do a community help them out. I just don't want to ever have to take over that cemetery.
I don't think the dust bothers them now.
So, question to staff: if they if they were to quit taking care of that cemetery, would that roll into county? Is the county responsible for that?
Through the chair, I'd have to follow up on that. I'm not sure I know we have taken over cemeteries in the past, but I'm not sure what the ownership of this is and our obligations if they were to walk away. I'll have to follow up on that.
Whose jurisdiction is it in? Is it in a village or a town or a hamlet? Or is it in the county jurisdiction?
No, it's,
Probably on a quarter
It's in the
second.
county's jurisdiction, so if they stop looking after it, it becomes our baby, automatically. Under the Cemeteries Act, I think if you check the Cemeteries Act, if they walk away from it, it becomes the responsibility of the municipality.
probably like to avoid that, personally.
We've just passed the cemetery. If you want to avoid that, we have to stop passing cemetery.
I support the brethren, just my last name.
So is this strictly for the cemetery, that for the dust control? So
just 400.
it's just a minimum 400 feet, so myself, we do intersections for the same reason, all over the place, so I don't have a problem with that, and I think if we put a motion on the floor that on the second round, that if the numbers warrant it, that council allows staff to put the dust control down, but we can put that on the floor now so that it happens.
That means I get desk
If we
control
wait for
in my
the
cemetery.
count, it won't happen until next year.
Oh, it's going to be 100. What do you think, Mike?
Through the chair, I agree. I think we're less than 50 vehicles on that road as it sits right now.
Yeah, that's right. Dust control will last longer. Yeah, it's probably only going to have to do it once a year, or once every 2 years.
So right now, the motion on the floor is provide dust control, 400 feet, $600, I think, roughly, plus or minus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard other talk about waiting for traffic counts and stuff, but no other motions, no amendment to the motion. Is there any other discussion? Donna moved, yeah. No other discussion? With that, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
When I want dust control on my cemetery, I'll be expecting it. No, mine's not. No, like my family one.
Well, good luck. Okay, Division 4 report.
My report is before you. There's not a lot of that I want to bring up, but I just got back from FCM, and it was interesting. I am not sure. I would love to have everybody attend at least one FCM, and then have a meeting on whether or not our time is worth it there. We have, it's pointed out that Alberta's got the largest delegation of everybody there, so we're the biggest contributors to there. Like, we're in there, we're trying, and my feeling, and this is strictly my opinion, is we are not getting anything done. It's, after listening to the big cities and Quebec talk, there is no, the money is all, that money that is there is all for them. The closest I came to rural is a city of less than 30,000 people. I think it's probably come down from 100,000 from talking from other delegates, but like the county of Wheatland, you don't even exist. So it was absolutely amazing that it really opened my eyes. But the thing that's starting to really bother me, and this is what really bothered me, is FCM got $1 billion as a line item in the last election. They are becoming another government. So you got federal, provincial, municipal, FCM, because they got $1 billion, and everybody wants lining up at the trough for that, and they want to include First Nations now. I mean, it is getting so complicated that I don't think that the energy that is put into it, I don't think we get it back. Now, these are all my opinions, and I think with the exception of Scott, I think everybody's been to one. But I really, you know, like, I have been there. I will probably never, ever go to another one unless it's in Calgary. And, but I think everybody has to experience just to realize what the thought process is out in Canada. And it is so totally opposite of everything of what we are out here, I believe. Anyways, that's my little deal on the FCM, and I will, you can continue the discussion, but I'll table my report as submitted.
Okay, any questions?
Through the chair, a comment for the FCM, and Tom's right on most of what he said. But the easiest place to get funding out of the federal government is through the FCM, through the grant programs. And we've noticed that through our SAVER project. If we were trying to get that through the province or the federal government, we would probably never have gotten the grant that we got to get us to where we're at. It was because of FCM that we the green fund, that we were able to acquire that funding. But you're right, the majority of it is coming from down there, and when they talk rural, they're talking 10, 20,000 population cities and under is rural to them. But we did have and we still hold the largest contingent going down there, so they are starting to catch on that there is some action out in the West. And the one thing I did notice, when they were putting the nominations on the floor for the third vice chairman, remember that? They all got up there and they spoke about this and that and everything, and it was kind of funny how he did it. I can't think of the guy's name now. It's from Saskatchewan. But he walked up on the stage and you'd have thought he was from Darren Hill. Yeah, Barry Hill, that's right. And you'd have thought he was, I'm not going to say the word, but you come walking up there and he keeps looking behind him, shaking his head, looking behind him, and he said, no, you stay back there. I'll talk about you later. You stay back there. And he introduced himself, and then he come on and he said, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. Nowhere, anywhere in that convention did anybody talk about pipelines. And that's what he talked about. And when you get in a convention room with 2,500 delegates, and the vote came for third vice president, and there was 4 members running for third vice president, he was elected. And he talked about pipelines. So people are listening to what's going on out in this country, or he would have never been voted into third vice president. And that's what his campaign was on, was getting pipelines in front of the federal government. So yes, it does seem like we're wasting our time down there, but our voice is being heard. A few years ago it wasn't. And it's a good experience. It's a good experience.
So
Any other-
did they mention, because last year they mentioned that it was going to be at Quebec City right at the conference. Did they mention where it's going to be next year? Yeah.
Toronto, I think.
Oh, Toronto.
Oh, lovely.
So why can't they,
Well, then the year after that, it's in Regina. There's only, they named them, because that question came up. Why, and I think it was Carol Calababa, who used to be the vice chair of AMDC, asked why. Well, there's only certain cities in this country that can host that convention, and they have to bid for it. So they listed off the ones in Calgary, Edmonton, Victoria, and Halifax. They listed all the ones. So it's a bidding process.
Regina has.
Regina.
So you've got, in the West, you've only got like 3.
Victoria, Regina, like,
but you can still go
it does.
back and forth.
But they, like I said, it's a bidding process.
Oh.
So they bid on it. Like next year it's Toronto, the 2020, it's in St. John's, Newfoundland. No, I think they announced it the other day there was St. John's in 2020.
I'd
But
almost make it mandatory.
anyways, yeah, that's the reason. They don't pick it. I don't know how the bidding goes or what the process is, but somebody has to come up with some money for it.
I agree with Tom. It's not worth my time or the taxpayers' money to go over there and have a holiday, pretty much.
don't worry about me, because chances are I'll never be able to go, because it falls, family commitments come before that, so 4-H and my daughter is very important, so I feel I get more out of that.
And maybe just a follow-up, and I think I want to bring this up in planning and priorities, but I think we have to, as a county, probably do a better job at reaching out to AUMA. Like, I think we can build better bonds through smaller centers in Alberta than anywhere, than other, because this is, I mean, I ran in, I talked to, had interesting discussions with the mayor of Hinton and all that kinds of stuff that, you know, like, they have similar problems that we have. And we just don't have that, there's no deal to do that. And going all the way out there to do that seems sort of counterintuitive. So, you know, like, I would like to see, maybe we should look at getting an associate membership at the AUMA and sending somebody in there to do some lobbying on our behalf.
Okay, any other comments? Just a couple for me. FCM, a few years ago, I think they granted us about $100,000 in legal fees for a loss, for a bylaw that went astray on us, and it ended up in the Supreme Court. They funded about $100,000 on that. They have funded for us, this is personally for Wheatland County, they have funded a project in Carsland and the lagoons there, some floating islands. They have put quite a bit of money into this symbiotic thing. I don't know if it's reached 100,000 yet, but it was well over 60,000 if I got my numbers right. And there were conduit to get the funding for SAWA. I don't know if any money come from them directly, maybe a little bit, but sponsored it, yeah. So we do get some, and that was one of the major reasons why we decided to join the FCM, is because they were doing this funding for us and we weren't even members. Plus the gas tax, which everybody shares in, but that was a huge lobbying thing. So Wheatland County is a net benefactor of the FCM. I know when you get there, you feel like you're lost and swallowed up. But if you're not there representing rural, just by being there, like the rural Alberta and the rural caucus thing, just the numbers there shows them how important it is too. So I know it's tough. And as far as the AUMA, I agree with that. And the RMA convention, there are small towns and stuff go to that convention too. So they are making an effort too. So I think on our part, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to make any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Division 5 monthly report.
Okay, back down to our level. My reports as presented, just some highlights, meeting GFL and TSI at the county office, where we put some ideas back to TSI about how they can engage the public. We've also had, in the last 2 weekends in a row, I've had several complaints about odor from the area. I'm sure you've all had calls from residents about it. I have been forwarding everything to GFL. They have been responding. To say on Vulcan, that was really good, very eye-opening. I hope that's something that can move forward. Also, I had a conversation with Dave McAllister at WID. Was talking to him about something else. He had mentioned to council before, I forget in what meeting, that they were looking at doing a study on the Rosebud River for diversion, for possibly irrigation. He was asking if we could get a letter of support from the county for that, and I felt it'd be great to present because it is for agricultural use. It'd be something, so I'd like to make a motion in regards to that we offer a letter of support to WID for the irrigation withdrawal from the Rosebud River. And then also had Range Road 243, which is the paved road at La Alta, had request for speed increase from 90 to 100. So after we do the one motion, I'll make a motion for that one.
Okay. So everything you want to accomplish, you have to make a motion for.
Yeah, I made a motion for the letter of support for WID. I know we have to go
Okay,
through that
so we'll
first.
deal with that one before we
yeah,
move on to the
yeah.
next. So that's an actual motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
If we haven't got a request from them yet. Or we
Coming through.
usually wait till we get a written request from them before we put a motion on the floor?
It's usually how it goes, yeah. So
There
we
can
have
be.
some,
I said that they should send a letter in, but I'm pretty sure we could get our senior staff to figure out exactly what they want in the wording. But I just, in general use, I don't think I'd even have a request and I would change my mind. I think I would support it regardless because it's for irrigation use in our county. I mean, it's going to benefit our ratepayers. Of course, it has to get approval from the province. They have to
I
study,
know,
they have
but
to do all
I
that.
still think you're better off if we wait for them to ask us for that support rather than.
yeah.
Yeah, like, it,
Through the chair, is there a timeline WID is looking at for this letter of support?
From what I understand, the study is ongoing right now. So
Oh.
they're hoping to have this done by the fall. So if their study proves through, they want this to go to the province and actually go through with it, so.
because if we give them a letter of support without hearing from them, there may be a request in that, in a letter from them for some funding to go along with it, and we don't know that.
There was no mention of funding at all.
I know, but if you give them that, you give them that support before you know what it is, and then they send you a request, then you've kind of got your hands tied. I think we're better off. I don't think there's a timeline that's that tight that we can't wait for them to send us a letter if they're serious about this.
Any other comments? I agree with Ben. If the study is ongoing, depending on the study, it would be good for WID to come in and present to us and tell us exactly what it is. I don't think the letter of support's going to help before the study is completed. So once the study's done, when they're submitting it, we could put a letter in with that and it would be just as timely as now, I'm thinking. If you would amend your motion to encourage the WID, if they want a letter of support, to make a presentation to council when their study is done, or I have a hard time putting a letter of support in before the study is even completed, if that makes any sense.
I can withdraw the motion and I'll direct administration to contact WID to suggest that they send a letter for the next council meeting, exactly what they're looking for.
Okay.
We have members sitting on the WID board, do we not?
I don't think we have a WID board anymore. A committee? I don't think there is one anymore. We didn't have a meeting for 15 years and now all of a sudden we get some issues, but I don't think, if we can look it up, is there? I don't know, Margaret.
WID committee.
No, because I think, if I remember right, I could be wrong. We just said to come meet with council, but I could be wrong. But Scott is just directing, or would like to ask staff to get a hold of WID and ask them what they're up to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, through the chair, I can reach out to WID and ask for a formal letter to be submitted. Easy enough, and I'll have it ready for the July 2nd meeting.
Yeah. And we don't need a motion for that, I don't think.
I will make a motion for Township Road 244 speed increase from 90 to 100. That's the Alta Road. The residents still want the 50 right in front of Lakes of Muirfield and Lyalta. There's that zone that's still there.
Sorry, just for clarity, can we have a motion for Councillor Clausen's report before we start another motion for?
Okay, Oh, I was
Just-
going to
just
let
to
him
close
go
out that
through his
meeting.
little things and then do a report, or a motion
Okay.
for his,
No, just make
Report.
sure that we start and end it
Yeah.
there, yeah, so,
I'll move my report.
okay.
thank you, appreciate it.
Any questions? All in favor?
Thank you.
Approved, carried. Okay, now the speed limit.
Yes, so we've had a request for the speed limit increase because we had discussion in other areas in the counties. And of course, the people there want to have the speed limit increase from 90 to 100 kilometers per hour on Township Road 244, which is the paved road, north and south of Lakes and Muirfield, Lyalta. But keep the 50.
It's a range road if it's north and south.
Sorry. So,
Sorry, it's like
yeah.
44.
Sorry, through the- It's Range Road 2,
245's over here.
Oh,
So you're going over here.
Range Road isn't anywhere near where
Two.
I'm at.
You know what I'm talking about.
264.
264.
Range Road 264 is
264,
the
yeah,
house.
so I'm on 263, I should know that. Holy. Yes,
To all the way to the number 1,
yes,
except for the 50
except for the 50 through.
in front of Lyalta.
Yeah, through the hamlet. And Lyalta Community Hall.
Right now, I believe it's all 90.
It's 90 at the moment, yes.
Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. Go ahead.
Just through the chair, as the schedule sits right now, there is a 80 kilometer, as the schedule sits right now, there's an 80 kilometer an hour from Highway 564 down to the entrance to Lyalta. Then there is a 50 zone from the entrance to Muirfield, sorry, down to Township 250. And then there's an 80 from Township 250 down to Highway 1. So, sorry, as the schedule sits right now, as I'm sitting. So this modification would be to basically the resolution, as I hear it correctly, is to increase the speed from Highway 1, Range Road 264 from Highway 1 up to 300 meters south of the entrance to Muirfield, lower it to 50 through that zone up to Township 252, and then increase it up to 100 from 252 up to Highway 564. 252.
That's what your motion is? Okay. Any discussion?
So just a question from my own, I'm trying to remember, that road has all the lines on it? Shoulders, the center line, the passing lanes, all that on that road?
Yes, it has, the center line has the rumble strips down at number 1. I'm not sure if there's rumble strips at 564. I think there is. Reduction. But it's a very good road.
Any questions?
Nope, I've got nothing but compliments and thank yous for raising the speed limits on the roads we did.
Okay. Any questions? This is the first time I can remember we're raising the speed limit without getting our peace officers involved in a report. Is that true, or am I been sleeping?
So through the chair, this motion, like say, is to increase it. We are actually going to have Chris come back in to revise all the schedules in our traffic bylaw in the next council meeting. We were waiting, he's aware of this request and is in agreement with it as well. He'll be bringing an RFD to the next council to revise all of the speed limits that have been approved. They are still legal as they sit right now, but just to formalize them through our schedules in the traffic bylaw. So they will be involved.
Okay.
So you're right, we haven't got a report in, but the last two increases we've done were done against the recommendation of our engineers, so.
So the report's not going to make a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. I think that was all, wasn't Scott? That's all? Division 7, Councillor report.
Thank you. Yes, it's in front of you on there. And just one update from the SEWA AGM in Vulcan. I am now no longer the chairman of that. As our bylaws stipulate, I have to step back. So I am now the past chair. Tom Grant, who is the mayor of Vulcan, has taken the position of the chairmanship for the next couple of years. And as it says in there, hopefully by August, we will have something to put on the map.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you moving the report, Ben? Any questions?
It was a very good AGM. Enjoyed it a lot. Paul's very entertaining.
I'll say one thing for them done. That is the most intense. And we did that for reasons a few years ago, and we've actually changed some bylaws. Of the most intense AGM I've been to outside of the bigger government bodies, like your smaller ones like this, just because of some issues that happened before. It's,
Yeah. Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
Can I request 5 minutes before we have our?
Okay. That was 7. So we have an appointment at 10. You're from Strathmore? We're going to have a 5-minute break first.
Break, sorry.
Being back to order. We have a presentation here from, is that Miss Simpson? Okay. Director of Community and Protective Services from town of Strathmore. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. My name is Tracy Simpson. I'm the Director of Community and Protective Services with the town of Strathmore. And also here today is our Recreation Manager, Mark Pretzlaff. And we're here this morning, to give an update on the Sports Center and the first few months of operations as requested by your Reeve. So we'll just jump right in with some stats. There we go.
Yeah, that's close enough. So as most of you know, the Sports Center officially opened in late January. Here are some facts and figures quickly on the number of some of the usage numbers. Obviously, we had about a week in January, hence the numbers are there. But our peak times were in February and March. Well, obviously, when the weather was at its worst. You can see the indication of the scans per day. That's the number of people that have existing memberships and are utilizing the facility. The drop-ins per day, as then a number of patrons per day. Some of the anecdotal information we had was the courts are extremely popular. Drop-in basketball, badminton, and pickleball were some of the biggest usage of the facility. The artificial turf that we installed there on a temporary basis with the help of Wheatland County was in place for mid-February. And while that impacted some of the usage from our soccer and lacrosse users, we still had a number of drop-in, whether it was baseball or flag football and things like that were able to utilize the artificial turf until the new one was installed just last month. This slide here indicates some of the primary users of the facility and the number of hours that they had utilized from January till now. As I indicated earlier, volleyball and the use of the gymnasiums were some of the most popular. Our baseball association was able to utilize the artificial turf with as well as a batting cage within there. Rugby, as I indicated, and some of the things going down that way. We anticipate there'll be significant more usage of the artificial turf come the fall. Unfortunately, by the time everything was aligned up with the artificial turf, sports like soccer and other things like that had already made commitments to some of the local schools. But we've had some great dialogue with them, and they're excited about coming to the sports center and utilizing that facility moving forward.
So the facility's now been open for 4 months, and while it's being utilized, there are some details that are still happening and some finalizing of equipment. So since January, we have installed the artificial turf, as Mark mentioned, as well as lacrosse boards with glass and protective netting. Our bleachers have arrived. We are currently installing 4 cross-court basketball nets on the Magnum Cementing Public Gymnasium, and permanent signage around the facility, including in the school, has been going up over the last couple months. Signage includes, rules, emergency exits, directional signage, all of those things that it's good to get a little bit of feedback from patrons before you install it, because then it gives you an idea of what the most frequently asked questions are and needs are. This past weekend, we hosted the annual lacrosse tournament in the facility. It was a tight work time to get it ready for their tournament, and so we had a few hiccups, but we're working with the Lacrosse Association to address some of those things and get the facility to where it's meeting all of their needs. Some other future things that we're looking at the facility over the next probably 6 to 12 months. We're going to be putting turf in the smaller fields, kind of the south fields that's closer to the school. We're going to be looking to add cardio equipment in some of the corners of the walking track, the Sobeys walking track. We're also looking at some other kind of specialty features like a batting cage, a climbing wall, and maybe something fun like a golf simulator or golfing cage. Those are some of the feedback we've heard from patrons and our council, and so we're looking into different opportunities to get higher utilization in the facility. Since January, we've been tracking all of the comments and questions we've received from the public, and here's kind of a snapshot of some of the more frequent comments. Some of them have already been addressed. This winter, we extended our hours to a 7 a.m. start, for those people who work in the city or other parts of the province. Some of them we are looking at adding, like the benches and exercise equipment, and some will take longer to look at as they have budget implications that we don't currently have in our budget, like workout equipment. This past month, Strathmore launched a new recreation software that allows for online registration and membership sales. And so with that, we're going to have more swipe access, which is going to make utilization of all of our recreation facilities, including the sports center, a lot easier for people, as well as launching an all-access pass in June. So you can buy one membership and it gets you into all Strathmore's recreation facilities at a very reasonable price. And so that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions about the facility, we're more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any questions?
I just have a question. When were you guys gonna unravel the name of the field?
We don't have a date set yet, but we're hoping before the fall. Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Last year, I'm thinking, when you set the rates anyway, there was a budget projection type of thing. How close are you to them budget numbers? Just off the top of your head, I don't need a...
I haven't looked at it recently.
You haven't?
I haven't looked at it either, but I think we're in a good place. Obviously, not really having the facility open until in reality February has impacted that, as well as the rentals of the turf. Not having that facility open, really that element of the facility open until really March, may have impacted our rentals. But we anticipate those being utilized or being increased in October, November, and January or December. We've had significant interest also from the Chestermere Soccer Association to utilize that facility. So that's something we may or may not have taken into consideration developing that budget. So, I would say we're probably on pace for that budget, but unfortunately, impact of the facility opening a little bit late, as well as the turf, could impact that.
So what I'm hearing then, the budget is, in your opinion, quite doable then?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, we can come back maybe in the fall, once we have a whole half year
Yeah.
of operating, and we'd have a better idea of where we're sitting.
Yeah, whenever we have updates, I'd like to see the budget and the actuals year to date.
Okay, any other questions? Tom?
Just following in the indoor soccer thing, like Chestermere Indoor Soccer, does that encompass Langdon, like the Langdon, the town of, or the hamlet of Langdon? Or is it the hamlet of Langdon incorporated into ours? Because I foresee that you guys will be getting an awful lot of demand
Yeah.
for those facilities come fall.
I'm not very familiar with the soccer boundaries in Alberta, but I do know that Soccer Strathmore and Soccer Chestermere are talking about combining their regions, and I would cautiously assume that Langdon would be included, but I'm not 100% sure. That's a good question. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Motion to accept as information.
So moved.
Jason's moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Staff reports. 4.4A. Any questions? You going to present the financial thing?
Try and
In
attempt to
that
answer
case, I'll
questions if
just,
you have any, but,
I'll move
yeah.
Mr. Henderson's report.
Okay. The corporate and financial services report? Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Strathmore Handy Bus donation.
I will also move, as the association has budgeted for the 35,000. I will move council approved payment of so amount to Strathmore Handy Bus as a donation to us.
Any questions?
Just before I go, can we get chair in to give us a presentation of what, like going forward, just an information report, just sort of touch up what goes on?
Yeah, I'm vice chair, so I can make that presentation. I'll just get it organized for next council meeting.
Anything in particular you'd like their budget and financial statement?
Budget numbers of residents using such service.
Yeah, exactly, and
how we could make it more efficient.
Yeah, well, and like I want to know sort of like the reserves and what their plan going forward with the reserves and that kind of stuff is.
Yep.
Okay.
There's also a new service coming in Strathmore. JR Transportation's looking to, I've just noticed it recently. They're a private company in Strathmore that has school buses that are converted, but they're looking at, I believe I read that they were looking to have a bus service in Strathmore, a public transportation.
That'd be nice.
So they're doing a presentation to town council. I believe it's coming up the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
So there might be some, and they have wheelchair access equipment and things like that too. So just might be something that I'd like to defer this actually to find out some information myself.
Okay.
That's would be what I would ask for.
Yeah, I can, when,
If you would.
we can defer it till July, and I can make the presentation on everything and maybe get some information on them. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I can just rescind my motion
Going to rescind your motion
and bring it back and
bring a
July.
package deal back for your report.
Through the chair, I'd like that idea too, is we usually deal with the Drumheller Handy Bus, Valley Bus throughout the year too, and I'd rather have them both come to us at the same time, rather than deal with them in two separate entities, so we get, whatever we get in one, and we can discuss the two of them as one.
You going to reach out to Drumheller, or do you want staff to reach out to
I
them?
think I can, but if staff wants to reach out to them, because they usually come in later on. the Valley Bus service. And tell them that we're dealing with this one in July, and if they're interested, that, to get their application in.
Okay.
And just a little bit of an update on the reserves. They, after a nice push, they have decided to move and allocate some of the reserves for different uses, mainly a building upkeep reserve. So we will be moving around some reserves to make it look, so there's less unrestricted.
So how is the 35,000 based? Is it based, like where did that number come from?
That was brought up before my time, and I get asked on the board all the time for it to be budgeted and increased. So I don't know where the number came from. It's just what has been done since 2014, I believe. 2016, it was 15,000 before that, so.
So with that report, will that be an answered question?
Yeah.
Would be great.
A little history on the handy bus. The county also does the CFIT inspections of it, which was always part of the donation thing too. There was once a push to try and get the handy bus more into the regional partnership. And there wasn't a flavor for that from the villages. And,
But there are community groups in those villages that donate, as we
Right.
just got a check from Standard, one
Yeah.
of the organizations within the Standard. And I think it's just as beneficial to have those service groups being funders rather than municipal governments.
Yeah, Carsland put in a big donation into the Carsland PV Club.
I'm thinking that was traditionally what the handy bus did. They went and got donations. I think the only one that's funding on a predictable, more basis is Strathmore. They pay for the labor, right?
Labor on the budgeted line item.
Yeah, and the county, we're still in the donation. Yeah, it can change any meeting for sure. So I'm thinking after our next presentation, when we have some numbers and budget things, maybe that would be a better time to have a talk. But past councils have preferred just to keep it on a donation basis.
So through the, excuse me, through the chair, I'm thinking the one in the Drumheller Valley Bus is done on a per cap basis based on what we do for the handy bus. But do we not also as a county look after their vehicle inspections?
Drumheller?
No, for Strathmore.
For Strathmore, yeah.
So that's part of the.
That should be part of,
That should be part of the presentation because we put that as a payment in kind
Yeah.
towards that too.
But I always thought, and I could be wrong, maybe we should check into it, it was the 35,000 plus the CFIP. I don't know if the 35,000 included the CFIP.
No, I don't
I
think so.
think it was a plus.
It was that plus, but
Yeah.
the work we did on their vehicles was
Vehicles.
still considered part of the
Yeah.
donation. And I think Drumheller's was based on the 35.
I think
on per
Drumheller's
cap.
is whatever they asked for. I don't know if we had a per capita type
Well,
thing.
one
Maybe
had-
we should check into that too, for the meeting, and then we can have a,
We increased it, at first it was what they asked for, then we increased it a bit, and I
well,
think
didn't they want a vehicle last
there
time or
was,
something?
3 years ago,
Yeah.
I think it was, that they had the vehicle part of it, and then we left it the same.
Same.
And there was, I think, 400 it represents 400 or 450 residents in that area, so.
The area Ben's talking about was the old ambulance dispatch area, because they're used to pay it down there. So yeah, if we could just check in on those numbers and some clarity, so we get a whole.
Do you remember, was the 35,000 maybe for an ambulance? Same thing that happened to Drumheller? Sounds
No,
like
the
about.
35
for
was,
not
was
an
a
ambulance, for a bus,
donation.
sorry.
Yeah.
Or it's not done on a
Not
user
set
fee?
aside for,
No.
it's used for operating rates.
So it wasn't how many people used it, it was
No.
just,
There was some numbers And I'm thinking their numbers are getting better on how many people use it and where they get their funding from, like there's Standard and there's Carsland. They do casinos, I still think they do, don't they?
Yep, you guys are all
I
gonna
do.
work one.
Yeah, so we'll just wait for that report to come. Is there any other information you'd like to have in that presentation? You're gonna rescind your motion or change it to information, or
No, I'll just rescind my motion.
just
and,
rescind it? It was on the thing here, donation, we would say, what are we gonna put in the
Actually,
minutes? Yeah, move to
I'll,
defer.
I will actually give notice of motion, because I will make this motion.
Okay, on
So-
July,
When is the next?
please defer the motion to, notice a motion
Notice of motion for the next council meeting.
for the next council meeting, second of July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's notice of motion, this motion he just made for July 2nd. Unless you're gonna provide a report.
Yeah. Plus
Okay.
presentation.
Notice of motion, we don't need to vote on that. Okay, tax agreements for property taxes. Yeah, it's a notice of motion, so it's not a motion, so we don't need to vote. Yeah, so it's a notice of motion. So this motion that Jason made will be part of the package for July 2nd. That makes sense. And 4.4A, 3, tax agreements. Package, page 178. Council's wishes.
I'll make the motion that council direct staff to proceed with the tax agreements with the owners of the properties for which a tax notification was placed on their property in 2019.
Any questions?
Just, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just wondering why we have to have a motion asking staff to do that. Shouldn't that be just part of the process?
You have an answer?
Well, unfortunately, I do not, so we can
I think it's
clarify.
the only,
I'm sure it's legislative.
council is the only one that has preview to, for tax payments and
Yeah,
stuff.
I
So
agree with
they're due
that,
on the
but-
30th, and then there's penalties. So if there's an arrangement to be made, then council has to direct staff.
So with this motion, then, whatever staff and the applicant come up with is agreeable to, or does it have to come back to us?
No, I don't think so. I think it's agreeable,
Okay.
but it's only the ones that was on the properties in 2019. Okay? So if they don't come to an agreement, it'll be coming back to us. Usually the agreement still, taxes are paid in full, they just give them time. Any other questions? I believe that's right, I could be wrong.
My misunderstanding is it's for taxes that are in arrears more than 3 years is what we're
Yeah,
dealing with more. But it's
probably,
not,
yeah.
that's. So for the public, maybe that should be put into motion because that's all that they'll see is they don't see all the background. Should be in there that proceed with tax
thinking it's a
agreements with the
14
owners
thing.
of properties which are with the tax notification of arrears of more than the 3 years under the MGA. Otherwise, it sounds like it's 1 year, and it's not 1 year.
That's taken right out of the MGA. You okay with that, Margaret? Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Community and Development Services report.
Good morning, Council. Before you, you have our Community Development Services monthly report. Nothing really to highlight in terms of differences significantly with regards to development permits, safety codes permits, and any planning amendments. The one I would maybe highlight is that we are year-to-date in April above in our development permits and issuing those permits. Some highlights with regards to planning and development. Obviously, Council approved the new policy for certificate of compliance at our last Council meeting, various land use bylaw amendments, and highlight with that is the cannabis amendments and an amendment for the CMRB as well. Work continues on our landscape and screening standards policy that will bring forward probably towards after the annual Council recess. Park Enterprises continues to be our safety codes contractor. With regards to our community services, we have been undertaking significant work with regards to playground equipment, obviously in Caresland there that you see before you. Curb funding for recommended projects was approved several council meetings ago, and we are executing that work this summer.
Any questions? Motion to accept. Tom?
I'll move.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Transportation and Agriculture.
Okay, before you see, excuse me, the GM report for Transportation Ag, construction crews are currently working on Range Road 243. We'll be finishing that up fairly soon and then moving over to Range Road 245 here, so just west of us here. Then they'll be working on that for the next few months, 2 to 3 months. The Hamlet crews are working, finally getting the frost out of the ground now and the freezing's done. So we're doing the repairs on the asphalt, that sort of thing. We're having the capital works has been awarded. You'll see later on here we have a public meeting set up right away, and we'll start the work on Main Street and south on Railway. Those are the highlights of the report here. So if any questions from council?
Okay. Any questions?
Mike? Mike, for the Carsland meeting, I'm away. Do you want another counselor there?
It would be good, yeah,
Yeah?
to either have a backup or.
Well, I was thinking, Scott, just because of the water, because that's what it's all about. You have the knowledge, but you can go, both go. Okay. And I have a question about the so the water is shut off, and so you have to put stations for their water? How is that working? I didn't quite understand that.
No, there'll be temporary services installed, just like we did in a lot of these projects. Above ground service installations, we tie into the curb stops right at each individual residence. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to have an actual bulk water here. I don't believe so. It's standard just to run above ground servicing when we do these projects. Yeah, so they'll still be able to flush the toilets, they'll still be able to turn on the taps. Definitely, maybe a little bit of hiccups, connection and disconnection, but other than that, it shouldn't be an issue. So it is tentatively scheduled. I haven't, is there any dates that work better for you on that?
On the 16th to the 27th.
Aren't you holiday law?
Okay. I'll have to confirm with Bryce if these notifications have gone out.
Or 28th, sorry. 16th to the 28th.
Okay. So if you like, we can coordinate a different date with you if this doesn't work.
So quite soon, right?
Well, that's what I say, yeah. If the notification's gone out, it'd probably be best if we had an alternate sit in your place. So if you wanted to appoint
I know
one, or,
people, but actually Scott probably. But yeah.
okay, as long as we have representation from, yeah,
It starts, more notifications better.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we will send the letters out this afternoon or tomorrow if council agrees to it, so. Okay.
Ben?
I'm assuming that landowner meeting is still on in Dallam next Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a landowner meeting, and I guess I failed to mention here, we are, now that seating is done, we're going to schedule the landowner meeting for Range Road 261, which is the one, Prescott Road, we're going to be hard surfacing that this year. So it is going to be a band surface, at least initially, so we are going to definitely have a landowner meeting prior to doing that. That'll likely be the latter part of June, early July for that schedule. And then with that, we'll also schedule probably in August, July or August, a landowner meeting for Township 250, the Fire Guard Road. We want to make sure we have that public meeting. We're looking at right from 21 to Lyalta Road in our plans here to see what the response is. It'll be an information meeting for the public there. So we'll put that on our website, we'll put it in the paper, everything like that. It'll be a big meeting.
Where would you propose that would be at?
I'm thinking here. I'm thinking we could do it in the ECC. It's probably best. It's close enough to a lot of the residents that.
Gotta make sure everybody comes.
Yeah. I'll have a clearer date on that. I'll send it out to council so you're all aware of it.
There was a fence, there was a break-in, and the fence was oh, no, the fence was damaged. Well, it says it. The fence had to be repaired after a break-in at Carsland. Nothing appears to be missing. Where Carsland?
Oh, it doesn't say that there. It's a waste transfer site.
Oh, the waste transfer.
Yeah, yeah. It's unfortunately not a rare occurrence to have those sites broken into. Usually it's batteries or thereafter or some sort of, they've gone into the shack a few times, but we don't keep anything in there anyway. So it's usually just a broken door that we have to fix and nothing missing.
Okay, anything else? Motion to accept.
So moved.
All in favor? Carried. Jason did. Request for decision, environmental program update. Jason's moved. Is there any questions?
One day. One day.
Don't give up, man. One day.
One day.
Until this government gets its feet on the ground.
Okay, good luck. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, Public Information Center, that's the one you were talking about.
That one down.
I move that the council approve the public information session to be held in Carsland as presented in the RFD, which would be June 20th, 2019. Since the area councillor is away, I ask Scott Clausen to attend.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And Protective Emergency and Fire Services. Okay, whenever you're ready, Stuart. If you have anything to say or
Morning.
add?
Oh, there's always lots of good stuff to answer. With April, our peace officers have been busy chasing down road bans. We've had lots of complaints of people running overloaded and pounding out the roads, so that was one of our focuses for April. A lot of community education, because that's, once again, that's still our priority focus for the peace officers, is getting out there, engaging the community, and being visible. One thing of particular notice for the peace officers, Peace Officer Young was published in Blue Line magazine. He's got a nice little article here on parapolicing that I'll leave for council if you wish to read. Also, he published a book as well. So if council is interested in receiving an autographed copy, I know a guy. So kudos to Mr. Young for getting published in for both of those. So, very good. Under fire services, we had 2 firefighters attend the smoke spread and flow path management seminar, which is an outstanding course. It's something that's not taught mainstream in fire anymore, learning how to read smoke. It's a dying art, but it's a very important one. And if they can bring that information back to the districts, it just gives you that little bit extra edge for the guys and their safety. So glad they went. And we had another 6 attend the big water training. So how to use shuttle services rather than looking for a hydrant, because sometimes your water supply just isn't there. Shuttling is very important for us. Completed a life safety inspection. We had a couple fire drills. Everybody made it out alive without injury, and 4 investigations for fires in April. Judy attended to the City of Calgary. They received an award for the South Central Emergency Management Committee presented by the Lieutenant Governor. So really good kudos to those members within the South Central area for emergency management. Our fire permit process, we are moving to get this put online, so it's a little bit easier for our residents rather than driving into the office or trying to find a fire guardian. We're very close to getting the system put into place right now, so we're just working with our software people. The Reeve and 5 staff also attended a crisis communication course in the town of Strathmore, so they got to see how they look on screen and how you actually sound. Apparently, they discovered a few facial tics in the process. And we've been in contact with communications group to try to get a bunch of staff trained up so that if we do have issues with our communications towers, that we can do it internally rather than calling the contractor in at $1,000 a pop. So we're still in the process of getting someone out here. Mike Hickling is one of the people we want to train, but I believe he just went for some medical procedures, so we're going to wait for him to get back. Cool. And under emergency management, we are hopefully going to bring the regional emergency management plan and that bylaw to council in the very near future so we can move forward on this regional partnership. And that's the highlights from our department.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, now that George Freeman Trail's open all the way through, are
moving them back over to their own buildings.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Through the chair, the applicants that were submitted for the fire service board, yes, have they been awarded, or do we know who they are? I see here that because of FOIP that they aren't in the.
Let's finish up. You're talking the next one? 2 applicants for 1-year term? Okay. Let's finish up with Stuart's report first. Okay.
I guess.
Any questions for Stuart's report, Donna?
I,
That's okay.
I'm just wondering if we could get together somewhere and have a separate date at a meeting and talk about the Carsland Fire Hall? And have fire services interim, have a few staff there and council, if that's agreeable. We could kind of get going and figure out what we're going to be doing. When? Timeline?
Got a date in mind?
That's actually something I wanted to table on the next planning and priorities meeting, to bring that into council. So we've pretty much stopped until we can sit down and have that conversation of what that project's going to look like moving forward.
If we could kind of schedule something?
Yeah, once Brian gets back, we can set some time and get together.
When I get back.
You get back, yes.
Sorry, through the chair, who did you want to attend that meeting? Fire services, any other counselors, any counselor?
I would like all.
Everyone there, yeah, okay, good.
It's a big ticket.
Yeah, I think planning priorities are a committee of the whole. I'm not sure if we have one scheduled coming up.
I think we have one, just-
We do have planning
is that?
priorities. Sorry?
That's
Oh, the
11th
11th?
of June.
Good.
Is that early enough? Yeah.
Plan priorities, yeah, that's on the 11th.
Perfect. That would work. Oh, yes, I do too, yeah.
Any other questions? Motion for the report.
I so move.
Donna's moved, accept his information. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, Fire Board.
Mr. Chairman, the planning priorities, is that after the MPC? Or is that,
No. It's following, yeah.
oh, okay, so that's a no, okay, good enough.
Yeah. So we're back to the Fire Board, page 214.
So you can't name them, or you can't give us the names of?
As I understood it, that the two applications were being forwarded to council last week while I was away. That was my understanding.
I'm looking at I was just thinking that I was crazy, but
I think we all think that.
No, I didn't get it.
I can go get the applications, print them for you immediately, if you'd like. Cool.
Yeah, we can move on to correspondence, and then you just give us, and whenever you get it ready, you can come back. How's that sound?
we're getting coffee when we're talking. It's not
Okay.
like you're leaving the room.
Okay, well, as we wait for Stuart, we'll move on to correspondence.
Glad it wasn't just me. I was
Rocky Ford Centennial Celebration. A poster there, I guess you would call it. Alberta Recreation Park Association. Correspondence from them. Letter from the Rocky Ford Lions. Thinking we could deal with that right now, unless you want to look at them all. They're asking for gravel for around the one side of the arena, it looks like. Some of them blocks that are at the Did Ellen ever talk to you about them blocks?
Through the chair, no, but I saw this request, so I just looked, I asked our field staff. They are able to release some of these blocks. We don't need them immediately, but we will require some equipment to go out there. And they are available in Strathmore as well. So, I mean, it's another option to just have them, we could purchase them and bring them over there. Like, that's another option. We'd have to replace these regardless, because we are going to have to use them. So if they're asking for a donation of blocks, it would actually be easier for us to pull them out of Strathmore and have them delivered. Because we're just going to have to go back out to Rockford and replace the 6 that we need out there. They're about $120 a pop, so.
How much a pop?
$120.
For them blocks?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, around that way.
Yeah, they say here, donation, borrow, rent, possible purchase.
I would put a motion on the floor that we allow staff to supply them with the blocks that the 6 blocks or whatever it is, 6 blocks that they need at our replacement cost.
Okay.
Are these blocks temporary, just for their due?
Through the chair, these blocks are there for regrading of both Rockyford, and I think we're going to move some of them over to standard. So we do have a use for them. We weren't just storing them. We bought them a couple of years ago for that.
The Lions Club wanted them for a loading ramp for this 100th year thing. They got some antiques coming in, but also for parade days, they have, they need a ramp, I'm thinking it's long-term, but I don't know if they have a place picked out for it yet or not. I'm not aware of any, but Ben made a motion that we provide them at replacement cost. They can decide what they want and how many they want. Any questions? Colin, oh, sorry. Yeah. It would be safer. Yeah.
Through the chair, we would probably, well, we'll work out a labor cost. It would be around 130, 140 a block. We could, maybe the whole thing would be $1,000 if we're looking at replacement cost.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Not yet. Okay. This is just the blocks.
So full cost recovery.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And the gravel.
What's the gravel worth?
Cost recovery on the gravel.
About, well, we sell it for $10 to $12 a ton. So around, with delivery, around 1,500. Let's say there's 6 end dump loads, give or take, on that.
Go.
What's the trucking rate per hour? What's the trucking rate per hour? Maybe, well,
It's
probably
around $100
Yeah, it'd be more than
an hour.
that
Yeah.
for an end dump.
Well, depending where we're bringing it from, though. We would only do it if we were in the area. So. And we are graveling in that area too, so.
Did they have a time on that? I don't think. Because the 4-H sale's on Thursday, I think, of this week. They won't get done for that. I'll put a motion that we supply gravel at the convenience of Public Works, like we always do for these projects in the community, of up to 120 metric tons. That's what we do for all the communities, be it their arenas and community centers and fire halls and 120 tons up to, it says 100 to 120 tons. And in-kind donation receipts, and it's all tracked. Any questions? All in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Motion, did you vote, Scott? Opposed, motion's lost.
Just a question to the chair. The blocks, when we deliver them, we just deliver them to the site. They place them when they're ready to place them, so that we're not trying to set up times, and as long as we know the location, we just set them down on site, right?
Definitely. Through the chair, that's my understanding, is we will pick them up, deliver them to a pre-agreed to site.
And then they can set them any way they want.
They can move them as they want, yeah.
Okay, we'll stop with the correspondence. We'll go back to Stuart's report.
So as per our fire services bylaw for our fire services committee, we posted out to the public to get 2 members at large, and we got 2 applicants.
Very good applicants.
2 very good applicants. They're both have extensive backgrounds in the fire service full-time with the city of Calgary. The one with that included the pictures. I've actually hired this individual in the past to teach heavy extrication for Vulcan County. So he's very, very reputable. We're looking for 2. We got 2.
So you just need a...
Need a motion from council to either approve or deny.
Are they, just looking here, are they both residents of Wheatland County?
This one is a resident of the town of Strathmore.
Okay.
Yeah, this one is a resident of Lyalta.
And they're the only 2 that applied.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Jason moved. Is there any questions?
Yep, yep. If they're,
Yeah.
I'll move Ryan Kins,
sure, we'll go with that.
Randy Schmitz.
Okay.
I know. What's all these? Why can't you just have good English names? Not those weird ones. Island names.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty English.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Anything else, sir?
I don't think so. It's a
Okay.
beautiful sunny day, and it's always a good time in protective services, so.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, back to correspondence. A letter here from the village of Rocky Ford.
I just have a question. Margaret, this is what I was trying to have, remember I made a motion a couple weeks ago? This is all what it's about. Did that letter go out or not yet? Okay, so this is the information that you and I were talking about that you were needed. So I did make a motion already, and you guys did accept it already.
Any questions on the letter? Any questions on any of the correspondence? A motion to accept as information. Tom? All in favor? Carried. Just in camera. To my scratchings. Did I miss anything? No? I don't know, I like this chair. Unless you want to go in the other room, well, there's checks to sign in there too. Yeah, we'll go there. Let's have a motion, then we can.
I'm moving camera.
All in favor? Carried.